Hey everyone, I'm Chris. I'm a horror filmmaker who's been on YouTube for a very long time, and chances are you already know who I am because you clicked on a video about Nerf, and that is what I was known for back in the day. To celebrate the new release of my horror film, We're Not Safe Here, I am now visiting the rest of my Nerf videos, including the horror ones. Now there's a lot of Nerf videos to go through today, and I can't dive super in-depth with all of them, and I definitely want to for a lot of these, especially the 10 Things Trilogy. So what I plan to do is give a quick overview and summary ranking of these videos for this tier list video, but then comment below which ones you would like me to do full in-depth videos, really diving into the details and the entire story behind these certain videos, behind the scenes facts, and my real opinion about them, you know, now and how they led to where I am today. I also want to say it's very difficult ranking these videos in particular because this spans my entire Nerf career, starting from the age of 12 in 2009 all the way to 2015 when I was about to turn 18. So it's really hard to compare the old videos to the new ones, so there's chances are it's going to be some videos that aren't going to rank very highly that you think would rank higher. And you may notice there are videos that are not included in this list. The interactive games can't include them because YouTube removed annotations, so they don't work anymore, unfortunately. Also not including Nerf gun reviews because you couldn't pay me enough money to actually rewatch those videos because they suck. Any bloopers videos? Nope, don't count. And of course, I know all of you are wondering, what about that Nerf fight in Alan Todd episode 2, the OG Nerf war? Unfortunately, I can't include it because it would be ranked S and everything else would be probably E or F by then, so it wouldn't be fair to the rest of the video. So Alan Todd episode 2 not being included. And of course, the music you're hearing right now, I got it from Artlist. You can check it out, link in the description, get 2 extra months free. But without further ado, let's visit Nerf Gun Zombie Attack. Quick overview of Nerf Gun Zombie Attack. I applaud my attempts at making a full-fledged horror film mixed with Nerf. I think the fact that this came out 2 months after Candy Bar is mind-blowing because it is a step up in every way. There's more of a story going on, there are different characters, there's things that are supposed to be taken seriously, we have masks for all of the different zombies, I'm using a lot of like spooky horror music. This is just a big production and it's pretty impressive for what it is. Ranking each of them through the parts, so we're starting with part 1. Part 1 is pretty good in terms of the setup of what's going to happen. I think it really sets the tone well. I think it's fun having split storylines, especially because one is more horror based and then the other one's more action based. I think that's really fun. And also it was very creative doing that as well, where then in each of the scenes when we're fighting zombies, we do different camera angles where we have one human character or 2 human characters on screen, and then since we only had a couple people to play zombies, we would then all play different zombies, so that way it looks like human characters are fighting dozens of zombies when in fact we only had like 4 actors maximum. So that's really creative. Unfortunately, it is still very dated. It is 2009, so if you take everything with a grain of salt, there is still a lot of sloppy work in terms of the action and especially the writing, which I will get into. Surprisingly, there are some nice jump scares in here, especially ones involving Ben where he's popping out and scaring people. I know that Camden actually got legitimately scared for his jump scare. And Ben is also just a really big help. I think any videos that Ben is in, there's an energy that he brought to them, not only on screen, but also off screen. And that really is showcased here. Even though this was before any of the Nerf wars that we ever did together with BCC Productions, this was a collaboration and I think it really shows. And the final thing with part 1, the ending is really dumb. And the ending does something that I do a lot, where I am building tension to this ultimate payoff I want to reach, but I don't have enough things going on during the build-up to make it worth it. I just kind of repeat the same action. Oh, Anthony, open the door. Okay, we're fighting the zombies. Anthony's struggling to open the door. Cut back to this, cut back to that. There's nothing new that's happening, and it's like the same camera angles. It's just like, I felt as a kid, oh, I have a payoff, so I need to build up to it. I need to, but I didn't really understand how to properly give that build up. And so they just kind of fall flat and waste time. So part 1 is sort of a mixed bag. It is very dated and doesn't do everything as well as I wanted it to, but I do applaud my ambition with trying to make a full-on horror zombie movie, and it is very exciting to watch for the most part. It's pretty consistent as well. Consistent, you know, it doesn't really slow down in any way. It's not boring at all. So part 1, I'll probably put it right at the C category. I think it fits right there. If I were to compare this to my older Nerf wars, if I didn't have my later Nerf videos in this tier list, Zombie Attack part 1 would be a lot higher. But as it stands, things do get a lot better later on in my career, and we will see. So it'll stay at C. Nerf Gun Zombie Attack Part 2. This one has the highest highs. This is the one that I have always rewatched the most and the one that I remember the most because it has my favorite scenes in the entire trilogy. However, watching it now, unfortunately, there are some calm down moments where things do slow down and kind of waste time because I didn't really know how to write characters and dialogue and actually build story. I understood basic plot of, okay, we have to do this, we have to survive, we have to defeat the zombies or whatever, but there isn't much actual character development going on. There's no personalities given to really any of these characters beyond just we're soldiers and we care about each other. There's no reason for you to actually really care about what's going on. And so when things quiet down and there's those character moments, they're not actually character moments, so they just fall flat. But on to the stuff that I do like. Everything in the garage is really exciting. As soon as things start moving, it's legitimately like kind of scary. And when we reach the part of Anthony and Ben turning into zombies and attacking me, especially that shot where Ben sits up and he turns around and I realize like, oh no, and the music and all of that, that entire section is my favorite part of the whole thing. With them attacking me and I'm pushing my way out and I somehow close the door on them and I'm like, oh my god, both my friends are dead. Oh no, and then there's a ton of other zombies and then I'm closing the door and one claws my face and then I'm stuck in there and I'm just like, my whole life is screwed, and I just grab a gun. I'm like, all right, gotta wait for it. All of that is great. I love that entire section. And then also James's sacrifice is a pretty entertaining scene in itself. The plan that he has is not a plan. It makes no sense whatsoever. But the actual scene of him fighting all the zombies with the Vulcan, Camden and Tessa escaping, and then James sacrificing himself and kind of choosing to make that sacrifice is really cool and well handled. And I think there's certain editing moments with the music as well, like the door locking, that really help that. And finally, when he fires that gun, it's like, oh, it's gone, the end. So I love that sequence as well. Then again, we kind of end on a bad note. I tried to give some sort of like conclusion to like, oh my god, everyone's dying, but it just kind of falls flat. It's just like footage of us with like a camera shutter, and it's like, yeah, they cared about them, right? And then after this whole emotional moment where Camden's like, everyone's dead, and like we're reminded of how everyone's dead, Tessa just goes, come on, and they leave. Like, she's just annoyed of him, like, oh, all of our friends are dead, who cares, let's just keep moving. And so that's funny but dumb. It's really tough for me to rank this one because I do prefer it over part 1, but there are some low lows that aren't reached in part 1. Part 1 is definitely more consistent, and it just at the end of the day, comparing it to what we end up reaching later on, I can't rank it the tier above. So I'm gonna put part 2 in the C category as well. If this was more simplified and I was talking about just the zombie trilogy as a whole or both zombie movies, then part 2 would rank higher. But as it stands, we're still in the C's. Nerf Gun Zombie Attack Part 3. This one is a little truncated of an ending because half of it is the credits. So it's really just like 5 minutes out of the 10, which the previous parts were like 9 or 10 minutes long. So part 3 is just kind of all right. And remember how I was talking about how I had these artificial moments of building up to a payoff, but there's no real way to build up to it? This one's the worst one for that. There are several times where we are just waiting for things to build up to a conclusion. Also, the focus of this part is sort of all over the place, where we end up meeting up, which is like a triumphant moment, but then we end up splitting up again, but then we meet up again, and it's sort of just like, all right, where are we headed? It just kind of feels a little all over the place. The lighting of going from daytime to nighttime makes no sense whatsoever. It keeps switching back and forth. I tried to sort of organize that and clearly failed. And then the explosion scene is actually kind of fun. There's several times throughout this whole zombie trilogy where I'm using POV camera angles, and this one has a really cool sequence where I'm running away and the zombies are following the POV. But then the actual explosion is ridiculous because it's clearly not what I made, and I just grabbed clips off of YouTube, so that falls flat. And then the worst part, completely time wasting, Camden's transformation into a zombie. I literally show the same 2 shots over and over and over again until I'm about to have a seizure because it's flashing back and forth so quickly, and it wastes so much time that just stops the film in its tracks. But then another point of accidental hilarity, Camden's zombie face. Completely ridiculous. Camden is a legend at his funny faces. And yeah, there's a cool little payoff where I end up actually shooting him, and it's like, oh, I escaped, oh, okay. But then the ending's just like, it just ends. It's just like, all right, time to head back to base, and that's it. So, okay. And then we end on Dirty Little Secret by the All-American Rejects because I liked that song and didn't understand that it does not fit the tone of a zombie movie. So yeah, part 3 is definitely the weakest of the trilogy. It kind of ends on a sour note just because there's not much to go on in terms of story, and there's too many moments of going back and forth, like, where are we headed? Let's just get to the ending. And then Camden's transformation stops everything in its tracks. So I'm gonna put part 3 in the E category. I still have a little bit of fun with it, but yeah, it is definitely a letdown overall. And there you have it, the Nerf Gun Zombie attack movie. Moving on to something a little different. Nerf Arena Summer. All right, I'ma just say right off the bat, I like Nerf Arena. I've always liked the Nerf Arena series, and Summer is a great start. It's short, it's simple, it's fun. There's no time wasting. It's just quick, fast-paced action, and I think this was the first time I really pulled off some fun choreography. And the sword fighting choreography was something I always loved as a kid. I always loved watching sword fights, especially the lightsaber fights in the Star Wars prequels. I was a sucker for all those. So it was fun to really just dive into, all right, let's do this, and then there's like a kick, and then I push you up against a wall, and just fast-paced, doom, 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 and no time wasting with anything else, and that's really fun. Just, I think the Nerf Arena series, especially these early ones, you can just sit back and watch them anytime. You know, it's like 2 minutes, just 2 kids, fast-paced sword fighting. You know, it's great. The sword sounds in this one aren't the best. I think I get better at actually sound mixing the different sound effects for the sword fights, but they still work not too bad in this one. There's a part where the pacing slows down like twice back to back. Usually you need like 1 moment for things to kind of calm down before you then get the climax, but here there's like 2 moments, so that is sort of is weird. And then this one is a little bit guilty of it, but not as guilty as some of the later ones, where back in the Nerf Wars I had cheats where people just stand and shoot, so it's exciting, right? In the sword fights I had this simple block, attack, where we go bing, 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 and we kind of repeat that over and over again. That was a way to sort of just have filler of like, all right, I can't actually come up with different creative sword fighting, so let's just have simple block, 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 and that'll be good enough. So that happens in this one a little bit. And then the bashing the head part is actually kind of goofy. I didn't mean for it to be goofy. I meant for it to be like, dang, you know, Chris is really, you know, hammering home that he won this fight and he's just beating him up. Ah, this sucks. But it's just kind of silly. But then the blood spit is really cool, where I cut his throat and he go, you know, he put the ketchup in his mouth, but it looks cool. It looks realistic. So Nerf Arena Summer is actually really fun and simple to watch. There's nothing harmful about it, really. It's one of the older videos, but still holds up for the most part today. So I'm pretty comfortable in giving us a higher ranking. Let's put Nerf Arena Summer in the B category. Well done. Nerf Battle of the Ads commercial. So, little backstory of this video, because I'm sure most of you have already forgotten it. Nerf did a whole little competition back in the day where you could submit your own Battle of the Ads, you know, your own little 30-second commercial spot. And spoiler alert, I did not win, and I was in fact disqualified because mine was deemed too violent, probably the sound effects. But I am actually pretty damn impressed that I managed to put together a ton of kids from my mom's middle school that she taught at and set up this whole little location out in a field with some boxes and brought a ton of Nerf guns, and it actually kind of feels like a whole little ad with some fun fighting. And I especially the fact that I was, what, 13 when I made that video? Like, I think you would be hard pressed to find an actual ad that was submitted for that competition that it looks as good as the one that I did that was made by actual kids. You know, it's well made for the most part. I'm pretty proud of it. The only thing that does knock this down is that it is a commercial and it's 30 seconds, so there's not much reason for me to rewatch it. There's no big exciting action moments or, you know, like, oh, Sabbath. There's nothing really to it. It's just a commercial. So even though I had a good amount of positives to say, I just don't really find myself wanting to watch this a whole lot. And, you know, if I think about it, like, all right, I would rather watch Nerf Gun Zombie Attack Parts 1 and 2 over this. So I think it does end up belonging in the D category. It is still a little dated, but again, I think I will applaud what I tried to do, and I did a pretty good job of what I could pull off. And just like that, we're back in Nerf Gun Zombie land, Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse. Before talking about each part separate, overall, Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse was an interesting watch for me now, because this is the most ambitious thing I made up to that point. I really tried to go for a dark, serious story with legitimate character beats, you know, like actual arcs, and, you know, characters discuss how they feel about the situations, and they argue and they change their minds, and their choices and personalities reflect then the story itself. So that's something I will applaud younger me for attempting to do, but I think I didn't know how to pace those things out properly and really write realistic, engaging dialogue. and that is something that brings down Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse. Part 1, right away it's really cool just that we're in a school, we're in like a different location, which is fun, even though like clearly it's a school. The fact that it's something other than just a house or backyard, it lends a little bit of credibility. All of these videos, there is this element where you have to remove yourself and suspend your suspension of disbelief, because it's made by kids and not all the time things make sense. They make sense to the kids but not to you as the adult, and things aren't properly explained to you. So when you're in a school but they say it's a base, you just kind of have to accept, oh, okay, this is their base. Like, I know it's a school, but all right, this is a kid video technically, which is funny because then things get really dark and serious and bloody and violent. So it's kind of funny, the dichotomy where you have this dark, serious subject matter, but it's made by kids, so you just have to believe certain things like Nerf guns and a 13-year-old driving a car. You just have to accept that. The chase sequence in the school is really fun, but then once it gets to the fist fighting, I'm not a fan of that. Like, it was sort of a Resident Evil thing I think I was going for, where like I'm a good fist fighter, but it's not believable and looks goofy. And then the whole cliffhanger ending where we get stuck and the camera zooms in on my face as I'm screaming. That's a cool shot. And then Brian Ang, who plays the kid who wakes up and doesn't know who he is, he is a great actor. He definitely elevated the material that I gave him, and I applaud him. The whole neighborhood sequence is actually really cool and engaging, especially the brown shirt zombie I think is really good. There's some really good shots there with that zombie in particular. And then me saving him and that whole little action sequence is pretty well handled. And then we finally get to some character moments where Brian is freaking out and I'm firing my gun, I'm telling him to stop. There's some discussions happening, but it is slow and the writing isn't up to par with what it needed to be, and then some of the acting just isn't up to snuff with what I wanted to pull off. Also, I hate the fact that we say frick. It's just so stupid. Frick! Part 1, I have a lot of positives to say, but most of those positives are what I was trying to do. I think there are certain things about the film that if I was able to write better dialogue and give better character moments and also pay off all of this story with an eventual ending, so it actually was a full movie, then I would be ranking Part 1 higher. But unfortunately, Part 1 is mostly an attempt at better filmmaking, and I don't think it succeeds in everything it's going for. At the end of the day, I didn't really love watching this, so I'm gonna give the shocker and actually put Part 1 in the D category. I prefer Nerf Gun Zombie Attack Parts 1 and 2 if I were just to watch them and accept what I was able to pull off. So Part 1 I just kind of see as like a learning lesson. Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse Part 2 is a lot of the same problems as Part 1, but I actually think it's worse. I think there is more slow character beats that are taking forever to get to the point, and there's some comedy moments that I'm not a big fan of, and overall less plot happens in this one. So when there isn't cool fun sequences like the neighborhood or the school, then it's just two characters in a car talking with the iffy dialogue and okay acting and bad comedy. I just don't have as much fun watching this one, honestly. I find myself kind of cringing and a little bored. The parking lot sequence is really cool though. I would say that's maybe my favorite sequence of both parts. It's tough between that one and the neighborhood sequence, but this one was really exciting. It had a lot of zombies and there's some fun choreography where we're running and I'm adding in little zombie noises, and there's like parts where like things slow down for a second and then they speed up, and it's exciting. It's pretty fun. And then there is a nice character beat of Brian saying he didn't want to use a gun. He doesn't really think he should be killing zombies because he still sort of sees them as human, but then he ends up having to do that in order to escape, and he saves both of our lives. And then, even though it's long and not well done, characters arguing, and then they kind of learn how they understand each other, and then they end up agreeing and decide to work together. That's nice. I appreciate that I went for that, and I think that is something that then leads to better writing down the road. I think just the fact that this is like the first time I tried it, it is not well handled, and if I want to watch something, I don't really want to watch Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse Part 2, partially because I never made Part 3, so that just hurts, but also it just never leads anywhere, and I just kind of cringe at a lot of the stuff I tried to do. So Part 2, it's same problems as Part 1, but is even worse with just longer waiting for things to start going. It seems harsh, but I just don't want to watch Part 2 all that much, so I am going to put Part 2 in the E category. I'm sorry, all you Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse fans, but I definitely prefer just watching Attack. I think it's just a simpler, straightforward piece of work. It does what it tries to set out to do better than what Apocalypse does. But Apocalypse was important for me to do because it would end up leading to better filmmaking down the road. Now onto a video probably none of you remember, Nerf4hire Promotion. I didn't remember this video, but it's a Nerf video that I did. I did a whole little promotion, and like the commercial, it's fine, you know, it's short and simple. I don't really care for the comedy at all. I think the comedy is actually kind of bad, and you know, unlike that other commercial, this one's just like me in my house, so there's not this whole production about it. It's just like me talking in front of a camera for the most part. My announcer voice is bad. It does not work. And then also, it's a promotion, right? So I need to show the products, but the product shots like of the computer and like their website are bad, and I can't really tell what's going on. So as a promotion, it fails as well. And there's also just lacking text and more concrete details explaining the product itself. So yeah, I haven't watched this in forever. I never really want to watch it again. It's not good at all, and it's just sort of a waste of time. So yeah, that was nice and quick. F, yeah, whatever, who cares, moving on. Nerf Arena Spring, there we go. All right, now we got something better. So this one, especially compared to Nerf Arena Summer, the tone and location is what sells this video. It started raining, and I had a waterproof camera, and I decided, you know what, let's just film it. The original plan wasn't for it to be in the rain, and it wasn't originally going to be spring. It was originally titled something else, but the rain is what made this video special. I love the shots of us in the rain. It looks cool, it's legit, we went for it. I am so happy that we decided to film this video anyway, and it ended up pouring so much rain. It is the most wet I've ever been in my actual clothes. That being said, the actual fight isn't quite as good as Nerf Arena Summer. I think the whole block, stab, block, happens a little too much. And also, my weapon is OP. The Marauder sword, this big, huge sword compared to a little shield and an inky-dinky dagger, just like, it was a little tough to choreograph fair fights because clearly I should probably win. And I also worked with the rain to kind of add a little bit of thematicness to the film because there's a drain that was where the water was coming out, and throughout the film, it starts speeding up more and more, so it like matches the intensity of the film. So by accident, the rain poured harder while we were, you know, getting to the climax of the fight. And finally, there's a comedy moment that I actually like when Camden wipes his brow, like, oh, I'm so tired. And then it cuts to me and I wipe my glasses, dead serious face. That comedy moment worked. Good job. The pause in the middle though, where it cuts to like, thunder, and then, you know, it's us standing in the rain, which I love those shots. That goes on a little too long, kind of stops the pacing a bit, so would have liked if that was a little shorter. We also had some more fun camera angles going on in this one, especially towards the end. The choreography isn't as good, but the whole 360 shots going that's really cool. And then the ending is also really funny. Jonathan's stone cold face and rapidly shooting Camden. The legitimately funny ending. Nerf Arena Spring, it sort of does things better than Nerf Arena Summer in terms of the look of it, camera angles, comedy, but the fighting isn't quite as good, and it also has a slower pacing, especially in the middle. So I think I will just put it in the B category right next to Summer. I think they both are about equal playing ground. Don't frick with the Buzzsaw. Yep. Video that is not on my channel that I'm sure a lot of you forgot about, but yeah, I did this with collabers back in the day. This is you know, it's nothing to write home about. For a YouTube sketch thing, because that's clearly the tone I was going for, it's fine, I guess. It's not super funny. There's one small comedy moment that I actually think it works, where my dumb character, he's like flabbergasted that, you know, the other guy doesn't like the Buzzsaw, and he like stops. He just like scratches his head. Like, man, I am so confused. That's okay. But the ending is, It's a fun, simple little YouTube short, but I don't think it is that fun actually, and it's not really that funny, and it's just too basic for me to care about. So I think I'm just gonna throw that in the E category and move on. It's a little funny having some of these random videos that no one remembers, but had to rank it alongside the big boys. Speaking of big boys, 10 things you should never do in a Nerf war. I could talk about this video for a very long time, but I cannot. So let's just get it right out of the way. This is one of the most viewed videos on my channel. This whole 10 Things trilogy ended up being probably the main thing that people remember me for to this day, and I completely understand why, because 10 things you should never do in Nerf war, when it first hit, I was able to pull off maybe the best that I could what I was going for at that time, and even today it still holds up pretty damn well. It's actually funny. I still laugh to this day for certain moments, especially the second one that I ever did with the thing you should never do in Nerf war, where the gun jams, and I'm like, are you freaking, and it hits me. That whole 6-second sequence maybe hilarious, love it. But yeah, aside from the comedy moments actually working, just this whole video feels like a whole production, and it's so full of personality, from the hidden controllers to the different set decorating, the different costumes, the location changes, even though it all takes place in this house, so it's sort of like vignettes of all these different characters that I play, and there's all kinds of references to past Nerf videos and little Easter eggs. There's just so much going on in this that it's just fun to watch even to this day. Also, the camera quality is better. There's finally a HD camera that I'm using, and I'm getting better angles, and stuff is mostly in focus. I didn't really figure out focus until later, but you know, there's some more creative stuff going on there. I also just did a really good job of filming mostly just me and Camden. That's all it really was. In fact, there's an entire sequence where I'm chasing myself that wouldn't work as well if it was me chasing Camden. Instead, it's funny because you know, oh wow, it's him chasing himself, and it's just fun to sit back and see how I edited it and how it like flows smoothly. But I think the ultimate reason that people really like this video to this day, and I think you can show it to kind of anyone, is that whole removing the suspension of disbelief that I'm supposed to take this seriously despite the fact that it's Nerf guns, like people don't actually die from Nerf guns. That doesn't matter in this. In this, they accept that they are in a Nerf war. The whole point is that it's a Nerf war and we're playing with Nerf guns, so it is kids, and you don't have to believe that this person is actually dying or whatever. So that's what really helps this video's longevity. It's no longer just a video that kids can enjoy. I think anyone can kind of sit back and just have fun watching this video, and it is well made enough to the point where you don't have to think like, all right, it's good for a kid. It's good. It does, you know, even though it's made by like a 14-year-old, it's still pretty good to this day. My only main negative I would say about this is just that the payoffs for the most part fall under someone gets shot in the head. That happened a little too much. I think I could have been more creative with the punchlines to my jokes. I kind of relied on the same one. And maybe sometimes just the pacing could have been a little faster with building up to the punchlines. Things kind of take a little too long to get to where they're going. But 10 Things You Should Never Do in Nerf 4 is very well done and is exciting, funny, and just really engaging to watch. It sounds like I'm gonna put it higher, but I will just give a little warning that things do get better, and once they get better, I would feel bad that I have this in the same tier as those. So, surprisingly, I will put 10 Things You Should Never Do in Nerf 4 in the B category, but I will say I do prefer it over those two Nerf Arenas, but of course I will do an entire full ranking at the end of the video. Nerf 4 Spoof, Fight for the Cookies. Okay, this one is a spoof, so it's not an actual Nerf war, and on the surface it is just a nice simple comedy video, but I really appreciate that I went for something different. I had my hair grown out to its maximum length it ever was, and I had to get it cut for a show, and I thought, what if I played two different characters, but I do it before and after the haircut so they actually seem like different characters, and I also don't wear my glasses, and that is really fun and creative, and I think that's half the reason this video works. However, as an adult, I think I made the wrong choice of which character was which. I think the character who's supposed to be taken seriously and it's like the real me should have been the short hair character, because the short hair character, you know, looks more normal and not like ridiculous big afro. And then the wacky ridiculous character should have been the one with the wacky ridiculous haircut. I think that would have worked better. That being said, I do a really good job of playing two different characters. I am believable in that these are different people and they're talking to each other. And for the most part, the comedy does actually kind of work. Like, I love the face that I make when the camera zooms in on me, and generally anytime the wacky character talks, it's kind of funny. And things are starting to get meta here, where like the real me is sort of referencing how Nerf videos are ridiculous and Nerf wars don't make sense. Like, oh, since when was foam lethal? All that. I think that's really fun, and now watching it, I can understand like, oh, this was kind of just me critiquing Nerf 4 videos, where like I am starting to get a little tired of it, so I'm just gonna be meta about it and like make fun of it. Nice and simple, has a point to it, some creative choices made here and there. The only things that really bump it down is the focus is bad, and it doesn't have many, you know, big payoff moments that I would actually want to rewatch. For the most part, it's just a simple comedy video. So I think I'll just probably put it in the C category, right in the middle again. You know, nothing to write home about, but it's not bad. Nerf Saw. Okay, I went into this one already knowing that I would like it, but I actually really liked Nerf Saw. I think this one is the real meta video, and I could almost make an entire video talking about Nerf Saw and just my pathway of when I started really not enjoying making Nerf anymore to the point where I quit. Because in this middle portion during high school is when I wanted to just start critiquing it and making fun of myself, and Nerf Saw is really cool because number one, I wanted to make a Saw parody, and I wanted to do that, but I knew that I probably needed to have Nerf in it so that way it would actually get views. And thank God I did that, because then there was a whole reason for there to be a story. The story became about what people already knew about me, where it is my journey of revisiting Nerf videos and how I'm not thankful that I'm famous on YouTube and all that. Like, there's this whole extra story going on that wouldn't have been legit, you know, if I had just written something else without Nerf. But the fact that it was about Nerf, there was some truth to it. This video is funny. There's actual comedy moments that I think work really well. I really love just everything once Camden shows up, from the faces that he makes to the faces that I make. You know, I throw a candy bar in his face and then I kill him, and then I'm like, I want the cookie and all that. Like, there's some funny stuff in this video. The lore is just really cool in this. Not only the lore of the Nerf videos and all the little references, but also how I reference Saw itself. And if you know Saw, I'm pretty proud of the parody. I think it's pretty spot on. The set design and different props and character choices and the writing especially, all of it culminates in an entire experience that is actually very enjoyable to watch. I was really happy and pleasantly surprised watching this. The ending is great. The ending really sells this, because I will always remember the first time I watched the ending of the original Saw movie, and that blew my mind, and I wanted to really bring that back with this. And yeah, it's a comedy, so like the reveal that it's actually Jerry the cat did it all along, it's ridiculous, but it still works in the context of, you know, in the tone that I had built up with that video. That whole ending is so cool and so hype, and it's just like a fun twist. It just works, especially with the build up and then the shot of me, you know, screaming. It looks exactly like the shot in the actual movie, and then game over, and then the meow, and then it shuts. All of it is so well done. I love that ending. It like actually gives me a little bit of chills every now and then. I'm like, oh, that was super cool. Nerf Saw is great. I really enjoyed a Nerf Saw. I'm gonna put it in the A category, dude. That's a step up in every way. I'm getting better. Another 10 things you should never do in Nerf 4. Again, can't talk about it too much because we'll be here for 5 hours, but main takeaways, it is a step up in pretty much every single way from 10 things you should never do in Nerf 4. Better camera angles, better comedy, more locations and sets, actors especially, there's way more actors, better jokes and payoffs to those jokes. The whole, you know, punchline if someone gets shot in the head, ha ha ha, doesn't happen nearly as much in this one. And that whole meta humor that I was really diving into with the spoof and Nerf Saw is even more so apparent in another 10 things. The style of humor starts becoming more flat, more just baseline, instead of like fun and wacky. And I think that really works well finally in another 10 things. I think just letting the jokes handle things themselves and not me trying to push for things, you know, oh, it's funny, get it, it's wacky. I'm just letting it go and do its thing. And that also is apparent with the new actors, because I was becoming more collaborative with just working with other people. You know, if my friends had ideas for jokes, I just let them be in the video. I wasn't so dictatory with what I wanted in the video. I also think that my performance is starting to get actually really good. I think I'm being funny and I'm pulling off certain things. You know, the whole raging bit, smashing the gun, the whole like I don't understand, that's a whole classic. Like both of those bits are really funny, and I did a good job. It's just funnier in pretty much every way. It's more well done, more well made, and has some fun meta humor in it about how Nerf, I was getting tired of it, but I also wanted to showcase how it brought joy to other people, you know, and my fans. So another 10 things is continuing the trend. I'm putting in the A category. We just keep going up. And now back to a video that doesn't have Nerf in the title, and you probably forgot about long ago. CACox97 versus CRAZYJACK28. This is another one of those just like short, harmless videos. It's fun and simple. You know, me and Alex met in real life, and then we have a little standoff. We have a reference to the Minecraft days, and Nerf gun, boom, dead, the end. It's fun, it's simple, it's kind of funny. I find the end credit bloopers to be the funniest part of the video. I would say this video is mostly harmless, except the out of focus shots are actually the worst out of all of the times they've appeared, and that bumps it down a good amount. So it's really not much to say about this video. I just had to include it because it was Nerf, but I'll probably just put it in the D category and move on. You know what I mean? Let's go. Nerf Arena Winter. Ooh, this is where I was committing to the settings actually being part of the video, and good, because this one is kind of similar to Spring, where the setting really sells the video itself. The choreography is at times the best, but then again, like we kind of had to rely on a little too much improvisation, a little too much bing, bang, bang, back and forth. So it's not quite as creative as I wish it could be, but I think it is maybe the best it has been so far. What helps with that is the weapons are more balanced now. We both actually have kind of cool weapons, and we're also actually getting pretty good at the combat. There's a couple moments here and there where I'm kind of looking legit, like I'm spinning this sword around and I'm able to kind of do some cool moves, and Camden's doing the same thing. It's actually looking kind of cool. And also now there's there's some characterization added into it with, you know, me being a little cocky, like, I keep winning, and Camden like, all right, I'll beat you. It's a little bit more added in there. It's never needed plot, but it's nice to have a little bit in there. I love the breaking swords shot. That's my favorite part of the whole video. Just that one looks really cool. And I also love how the fight ebbs and flows, where it's not always easy to tell what's going to happen. A lot of times fight scenes, you know, you'll have the underdog, you know, be losing, but then at the last second they suddenly win. But in this case, the underdog kind of just starts winning, and you kind of feel like, oh, you know, is the bad guy me, because I'm like the cocky one, am I going to kind of bounce back? But no, I just kind of slowly get defeated, and I think that whole sequence is really fun, and the music helps with that. Sound effects are also the best they've been so far in these Nerf arenas. There's a lot more whooshes, and I'm having fun with that. And then the ending is actually kind of artfully done with the blood in the snow, and it's dripping from the mace. That's fun and creative. So Nerf Arena Winter is another one where I enjoy it, but I think for as many things as it does better than summer and spring, there's also some stuff that kind of bumps it down. So I'm gonna put it in the B category again. I think all three of those are about equally enjoyable for different reasons. Nerf Arena Autumn. All right, we got a boss ass setting, and I'm a sucker for Autumn. I just love that. But also, this is a step up. Not only in terms of just like there's more story and character development happening now, and there's more of a point to it, but the fighting and action choreography is at its best yet. And the sound effects as well, just everything elevated with this video. I enjoy this video a lot. I rewatch it a lot. There's some really good action moments in here, even before Grant shows up, because Grant, of course, you know, he's like an athlete and actually can do flips and stuff, and that helped so much. Even when it was me versus Camden, you know, I'm using these hatchets, so that's really hard to kind of choreograph, but we have some creative bits here and there. There's some cool blocking going on and some tackling, and the camera's kind of moving around like whole 360. It's really cool. Once we get to the actual story and stuff, you know, like, oh, there's like this ninja, and like, oh, there's an arena and you have 3 lives and all that. It's fine. It was not handled well and not explained very well, and just kind of sloppy, and it is just sort of like, all right, let's just get to the fighting. That sort of stops the pacing a little bit, but it's necessary for you to ultimately sort of care about what happens later on. Now, even though the camera quality is getting better and better, I did not understand audio back then. I didn't get that like you should have like a microphone and a boom audio. I just thought the audio on my camera was good enough, and now it's not. It's terrible. So that really doesn't help, especially when characters are talking and they have a mask on. It's hard to even understand what they're saying half the time, so that's a thing to knock down. And also with, you know, even though the story is kind of weak, me saving Camden and the twist of like now I'm on his team is actually really satisfying with the music sting and all that. People really like that. And then my favorite part of the whole video, my 1v1 with Grant, which is all done mostly in one shot, 360 around. Really cool. I think that was really well handled. And then the dark ending of us just straight up losing. You know, it's a like Halloween theme because it's autumn. We're in the leaves. It's, you know, the sun is setting, and this villain showed up and he just defeated both of us. And it's like, oh snap, the end. It's just dark. That's really cool and different. Yeah, I've always just loved this video. I love the vibe that we captured. It was at the perfect time during autumn where there was just enough orange leaves to really capture that well. The fighting was really good. It's a step up, and I just really enjoy watching this. So I'm gonna put Nerf Arena in the A category, right where it belongs. Well done. And here we go, the final 2 Nerf videos, starting with Nerf Arena, the 4 Seasons. This is the single Nerf video I've rewatched the most, by far. I love the action in this video. I someday want to actually make full-on, you know, action movies, sword fighting scenes, and have it be legit, not just foam Nerf swords with teenagers in a backyard. When I make those, I think it will be so cool for people to then see my past work and notice how I kind of knew how to do creative choreography and camera angles and, you know, full-on battle sequences, and have it go on for a while and work for the most part, all the way back when I was 17 years old. I am very proud of what I was able to pull off with this video. This was definitely the video I poured my heart in the most of all of the Nerf videos, especially once it was ending. It was a lot, but I am very happy. The choreography is at its peak. Grant is great to have on camera. He's just so smooth with the way he moves, and it just is so believable. I love the seasons training montage in the beginning. I'm so happy that I did that I committed to, like, I actually did it each, like, around that timeline of like, okay, there's snow on the ground, let's film this real quick. And the way our choreography changes and gets better and better as we're training, it is so cool. And as things kind of slow down where it's like, all right, now we're gonna flow into the next action sequence, and then we go to here, and now now. This is going to be more comedic. I think this video really flows well. And we also have like blood and tearing on the clothes, so like we get more beat up as it goes along, and that's pretty fun. I think the believability of like, would we be able to survive this is a little extra. We probably should have died sooner, and we're moving a little too smoothly for the wounds that we were sustaining, but it's getting there. I'm trying to give a little bit more believability. And then a 2v5, which at times is a little sloppy, and we kind of had to rely on the whole split the difference with focus on me fighting this and then this and that, but it works for the most part and actually flows. Especially there's one shot where it shows both of us fighting each of our guys different, but it like the camera then moves and like Camden does this whole roll. That's really cool. And then my favorite sequence is when Camden is fighting Grant with the music sting and I'm fighting my ninjas in the background, especially the part where Camden charges and they meet in the middle and you can see the battle going on in the background. That's really cool. You know, not always were we able to have me fighting my guys in the background or Camden fighting Grant in the background, but that sequence we did, and that just looks so cool. It really feels like this epic battle sequence. And then Camden's telltale choice where he has to choose between defeating Grant or saving me is really cool and a little bit of a surprise. And again, something that the story built up wasn't done super duper well, but the fact that some of that legwork was put in through Autumn and then, you know, the beginning of this, that then when you reach that telltale choice of, uh-oh, what do I choose? There's actual, like, the audience cares a little bit because we have grown to kind of care about these characters and understand where they're coming from. And then my favorite single fight is literally the final fight of the entire Nerf Arena series, me versus Grant. We have dual swords. Dual swords are really tough to choreograph because in some ways you can kind of do anything, because if you block this, then you can just stab, right? But then two different characters dual wielding two different swords. We really gave a lot of focus and attention to nail the choreography as best as we could, and I think we did a pretty damn good job of pulling it off. There's some certain sequences during this fight scene that are just so fast-paced and so intense, and it just flows really smoothly, and I'm really proud of it. The ending twist is fun. It's a little all over the place and kind of like, all right, they should be dead by now, but whatever. You know, it's dark. It's like, dang, they all died and they're all bleeding. But then that little moment where Camden and I are dying is actually kind of emotional because this is sort of like the last Nerf video in a way. So it's like, oh, it's actual goodbye. But then the nice little callback of Jonathan showing up to save the day. That's really cool. The ending is cute and I appreciate what I was going for. And I think the actual, like, you know, us smiling like, okay, we're going to fight, but who cares? We're friends now is fun. But the whole argument leading up to it, because I didn't have real audio, is bad. I can't really understand what we're saying throughout that. So that kills the pacing, goes on a little long. So like, all right, let's just get to the end. But then the ending's actually cute. So I am very proud of this video. I love rewatching it. Nerf Arena the 4 Seasons is a true big production. You know, if it wasn't Nerf and was done a little more seriously, then it could have been an entire short film that I could have on my reel, basically. So Nerf Arena the 4 Seasons, without a doubt, is given an S. Well done. And we reached it. The final 10 things you should never do in a Nerf war. This is an epic conclusion video, just like Nerf Arena the 4 Seasons. That one was the epic action conclusion. The final 10 things is the epic comedy conclusion, but also the conclusion of Nerf as a whole. It is a swan song of my career with Nerf, and it's powerful. I really enjoy this video a lot. I was kind of surprised. I usually don't watch this one a whole lot, but it is an entire big production with all kinds of different locations and sets and characters. And again, just like another 10 things, it is a step up in every way. It is funny. It is well shot, it's creative, it's memorable, and it is a little emotional at the end. Also, the amount of details with, you know, like Jerry always being in the background, but then he's not in the background when Daniel is there because, you know, that. The callback of me having the cookie in my mouth, all of the different controllers being hidden, and the references to past videos. This is a full, complete package. Also, it's a colliding of worlds. Daniel actually being on screen with the other Deep Sheet members, him being in a Nerf video for once. That was really cool. And with the more people being included, I'm really happy that then I took a step back. There are several things not to do in Nerf war that I'm not even in, and I think it helps. My favorite one is Chris versus Grant, where they agree to only use pistols, but then slowly it's like, all right, it's very clear that Chris is cheating. I love that. That whole sequence is handled really well. Also, the focus problems are finally the lowest yet. Most of the things in this video are in focus, and there's some rack focusing that adds a little bit. And also the thing that really adds the longevity of this video is that everything not to do in Nerf war, you know, every scene has multiple multiple things in it that I find funny. Beyond just a surface level joke, there's also little eyebrow movements or little facial expressions. One line of dialogue can be kind of funny. One shot is done in a certain way that's like, that's kind of funny. Like, there's different things about it that add personality and variety to the comedy, where you can find kind of a lot of different things enjoyable about this video. And then it's a little bit of a cheat that the final thing you shouldn't do in Nerf 4 is just a montage of everyone getting shot, but it is a montage of every single time someone was shot in my Nerf videos. It is the culmination of everything. And then finally ending on the callback to the candy bar where we end up sharing it. It is just so clever. I think the ideas put into this video are at the most creative peak they ever were. And it is a great final Nerf video, and I'm incredibly proud of it. I think it is right there with Nerf Arena the 4 seasons. It's just there for different reasons. So I'm going to put the final 10 things you should never do in Nerf 4 in the S category. So that was a lot. Okay, let's just quickly go through and rank each of these in order. Obviously, in the F category is the Nerf4hire Promotion. Don't care about it. Moving on. The E category, I'm probably going to put the Buzzsaw one first as the second lowest video, just because it's sort of a, you know, a nothing video, I guess. Then I would probably put Zombie Attack Part 3. That one, that whole Camden sequence really kills that video. And then also that the end credits is like half of the video. It's sort of a waste of time with that. And then the highest E would be Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse Part 2. I just think it is pretty slow and kind of sloppy and cringy at times, but I will, you know, I respect what I tried to do. In the D category, I'm probably going to put at the bottom is the CACox97 versus CRAZYJACK video. Again, nice, simple, you know, whatever. And then right after that would be the commercial. I think the commercial is the most impressive of the nothing small videos that I did, which would then put at the top of the D category Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse Part 1. It's more consistent than Part 2, doesn't waste as much time, has more things going on. And now in the C category, I think I'm going to put the spoof Fight for the Cookies at the bottom there. That one is one of the more clever ideas that I did. And then would definitely be Part 1 of Nerf Gun Zombie Attack, which then Part 2 would be above it. Part 2 is almost in the B category, almost. I think if it was more consistent, then I would have put it higher. Now in the B category, this is going to be tough. I think I'm going to put Spring at the bottom, just because it has the weakest choreography and the pacing dies down in the middle, but it looks the coolest. Then it would be Nerf Arena Summer, which is the quickest, simplest one. Then I would put Winter above it because it has a little bit better choreography and just better, you know, shot overall, and also just the winter setting is really cool. And then 10 things you should never do in Nerf 4 is at the top of B. It's not quite in the A category just because I definitely prefer another 10 things, so that's really the main reason 10 things is in B. Now in the A category, I'm going to put Nerf Saw at the bottom of the A category. That one is definitely just really well done, and I do prefer that over 10 things. I think there's more to say in the video, and the ending is just super hype. Then another 10 things would be next. I think that one sits pretty right in the middle in the A category, which would then put Nerf Arena Autumn at the top of the A category. And then the S tier, I think I'm going to put the final 10 things as my second favorite, and then Nerf Arena, the 4 seasons, definitely my favorite. There's a reason I rewatch it all the time. There are action sequences in that video that I hope to pull off in the future in real life with legitimate actors and choreography and weapons, and I'm very proud of it. And we did it. That is all of my Nerf videos finally ranked in tier lists. You know, in some ways I was considering just ranking Nerf Arena as its own tier list, or Nerf Gun Zombie Attack and Apocalypse as its own tier list, but there aren't many to go on. It was a little tough comparing all these to each other. I think this video just kind of ended up being a journey through my whole Nerf career. Overall, I think it was really fun just to see the growth of my filmmaking and sort of my struggle with keep on making Nerf videos, but then adding my own humor and meta commentary about the Nerf by the end. Comment below what videos in this one or in the Nerf 4 tier list that you would like to see I do a deep dive on, where I actually really go in depth behind the scenes facts, really flesh out certain parts of why I like them, why I think they work, or why I think they don't work. And also make your own tier list. I would love to see which ones you disagree with. I'm sure there's a lot of people that definitely prefer Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse over some of the other ones, and I'm sorry that I ranked it so low, but that's how I feel. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching this tier list and the previous tier list video. Definitely comment below all that other stuff, and also comment what other kind of tier list you would like to see me do. But until then, that's it for this video. See you guys later. Bye.